continue to be marginalized as long as we don't have any damn power.
Thank you, my brother, for bringing.
Well, we're going to jump to the next topic, and I got to lay it out because I know some are watching are going to be emotional about it because. So I have to lay it out, man, because I had a talk with a friend, and she almost had a nervous breakdown. You
can't be the bearer of bad news.
Exactly, but it is what it is. We report the news, and that's what it is. One lady made a comment on Facebook: Black Westchester need to be ashamed of themselves to even talk about this. And I had to respond in the way I respond.
One thing, not talking about. I used to say this when we first got started. Not talking about and talking about stuff, going along to get along ain't got us nowhere. Where'd that get us? So like you don't want to speak about the tough, difficult conversation, and you avoid it. Where has that gotten us?
Exactly.
They used to criticize us for bringing up these things and say we were ruining the city. Not the people who were doing the bad thing, but because we talked about it, we were ruining the city. Like
exactly how they did Dr. King. They wanted to bring up the topics. We're just going to go along, get along, and hope that somehow or another, whatever the situation or circumstances, it fixes itself by itself. And in this situation, I feel bad for the fourth estate that is Black independent media, because when I read the facts of this situation, you go set it up, Damon, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't want to be the messenger in that because I'm a criminal defense attorney. I know I have a list of what I call, evidence that I run down, a checklist that I put it on my Facebook. I'm like, damn, there's some problems there. Okay, we got to come up with. Well, anytime you got some stuff that you got to explain, we got some stuff we got to explain there, and that's going to be problematic in a federal context because they have a 97% conviction rate when people take stuff to trial. So
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lawyer that had good things to say about the two lawyers that was handling the case.
Yeah.
So we'll see, and it seems like the Republican judge is fair that they call a liberal.
They call him a liberal.
Yeah, because they only call her liberal because she's Black. It's a Black judge.
And
she's Republican. She lowered the bill. All of a sudden, she's a liberal. She's woke politics and all this other craziness.
No. That case, I thought you were talking about who's handling the case for Letitia James. I was like,
we're going to see about that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and set up. Go ahead.
We're going to set it up. We're going to set it up because we got. So here's the key points. In 2023, she got a mortgage for Virginia property and claimed it would be her primary residence. Even though she was New York Attorney General, she's legally required to live in New York, right? That mortgage was never disclosed on her state financial filings, which is legally required for public officials. Since 2001, she owned the Brooklyn building that was legally listed as a 5-unit property, but for over 20 years, she reported it only having 4 units, which allowed her to qualify for better mortgage rates and government assistance program that she wouldn't otherwise be eligible. She even applied for the HAMP program in 2011 using the same misrepresentation, despite the program only being available to properties with 4 units or fewer. Now she's looking at wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, false statements to financial institutions. Now we're going to jump in to the person that did the investigation, independent of the government. They just used his information to request for an investigation.
A few weeks, she closed
2 years
on,
ago. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She closed on it right before the Trump trial. And in the filed documents with the county clerk's office, there was a power of attorney that she gave her cousin or niece to to close the mortgage.
Yep.
And on the power of attorney, she represents that I intend to use this property as my primary residence. Now, there's two problems with that. The first problem is she lied on a power of attorney. Would anybody really believe that she was going to move to Virginia in the middle of the Trump trial? Second part is there's section 6 of the mortgage that states that the borrower, meaning her and her niece, have to occupy the property as their primary residence within 60 days. Not one or the other, both.
Wow.
She at least never occupied it. Right. That's fine.
And why, what was the motivation to do this? Why lie?
Lower interest rates.
Lower interest rates.
Again,
motivation.
if 1 to 4 units has different underwriting guidelines, and also insurance too, by the way, insurance fraud. Whereas if it's 5 or more units, it's considered a commercial property and also subject to different insurance guidelines.
Right.
She repeatedly lied because there's a certificate of occupancy that states that it's 5 units. And in New York, that rules. And it's unbelievable that that complaints were filed with the Department of Buildings, and they wrote it off as a minor problem, minor error. Where every other landlord in New York, if you pull that stunt,
right.
Illegal conversion, having a building that's different from the certificate of occupancy,
yep.
They will fine you. They will make you alter the building.
Files it as a husband and wife. She's married to a father. Why?
First of all, that was discovered by Joel Gilbert, not me. I don't want to take credit for anybody's work.
Okay.
All right, that was 1983. What he found was that she bought the house as daughter and mother, father and daughter, and then she, when they did the mortgage, it was husband and wife.
As husband and wife.
Also, you get different underwriting as husband and wife than as you buy it as partners or two family members.
We have,
and now this is different from the Brooklyn home. This is a different property. I think it was in Queens.
In Queens, yeah. It was a long time ago. This is 41 years ago, 42. Luxury hotels with mischaracterized unofficial filings. What can you tell us here? Let's
break it down. Between 2021 and 2022, she used private jets to get around, spent $42,000 of taxpayer money. The vendor she spent the money on was called Venture Jets. No other government agency, because the information is out there, back to 2014 ever used Venture Jets or for private jet travel, period.
Yeah.
Then in 2022, when the government stops paying for it, her campaign starts paying for it. Now, let's go back to this stuff that the taxpayers paid for. If you align the payments for the for Venture Jets and those trips, because you don't pay jet travel net 30 days. You pay it COD, cash on delivery.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of those trips align with major campaign events that she was attending.
Damn, 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 damn.
So I want to be clear on one of the things that
look at John's face.
For people that don't understand, like what's the big deal? So they're saying for the 296 Lafayette Avenue, she represented it as a 4-family dwelling on a mortgage application and permit filings, even though the official certificate of occupancy designates it as a 5-family building. Under federal lending guidelines, buildings with 5 or more units are treated as commercial property, subject to stricter underwriting standards, including higher down payments, lower loan-to-value limits. By classifying the property, she may have obtained more favorable residential loan terms, such as lower interest rates and easier approval criteria that she would never have qualified for a property had it been accurately reported. The misrepresentation also enables her to secure a federal HAMP, H-A-M-P, mortgage modification in 2011, despite the program explicitly excluding buildings of more than 4 units. The pattern raises serious questions about accuracy of her mortgage filings and compliance with lending and disclosure regulations. Secondly, I want to say, while it's a little different, is sounding a lot of what she was trying to prosecute Trump for.
No, it's the same shit.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like it sounds very similar to some of the things, not exactly, but some of the things she was going after Trump for. It actually, if this stuff, first off, if this stuff is true, like Jonathan said, she's presumed innocent until guilty.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I want to be clear for those who the cheap seats that need to hear us say that.
No. Listen, we're not saying guilt, but
right.
but the paperwork is the paperwork.
This is what the accusations are,
right.
And if any of this is true, it would be kind of hypocritical. I actually saw somebody. Now I understand when I read comments, I understand where they come from, but I did have to laugh at one. Jonathan has said, if she got convicted, Trump should sit in the front row of the court that day when she gets convicted. I could see the humor in that. But
this
go
is
ahead.
This is when this first came out, I think it was around April the 5th or something like that, April 1st. I literally thought it was a joke at first, and then I hunted down the actual blogger who had the documents posted on his website, and for me, I'm looking for okay, those are your allegations, sir. I don't give a damn about allegations. I'm looking. What's your proof? Tell me some proof, and then I'll advise my client that basically this is what's getting ready to happen in court. Unless we can keep these documents out, if I would be advising the client, is this your signature, or somebody saying that they signed some shit some stuff that is really not your signature? Because if this is your signature and you're attesting to these things, I want to know when you read this part where it says, I declare that I intend to occupy this property as my principal residence. I want to ask you so that I can articulate what you were thinking at that moment. Like, what the hell did you mean by that? And you're the sitting AG of New York, because on the back side of this document, you even sign it where it says State of New York, County of New York, to wit, up underneath your name. So as you're signing this document, you're attesting to, did you read this shit stuff? Did you read this, Letitia, before you signed it? Okay, because that could be a defense. Like, I was just spinning through this and just signing. All right, well, that's what we're going with that trial. I didn't read it. I was rushed, and I signed it. And if I can get one person on the jury, and I'll be looking for the person who, could understand, I'm just signing some stuff, and I didn't really realize what I was signing. But as the Attorney General of an entire state, it's going to be a very difficult argument to make that you don't read what you sign, and that signature creates a problem. So then I would be saying, do you authorize me, Letitia, to go and talk to these people about a plea offer? Do you want to keep with that shit stuff that you said about this is all baseless allegations? Because if she's already said that in the media, that these are baseless allegations, which is going to make the federal prosecutors have a lot of zeal in proving her statement to be false. And so, that's why I'm like, if you're under investigation, don't make any statements right now, because if it's baseless, it's baseless. But if there's some meat on that bone, let's try to say what happened here, what caused this, as opposed to being baseless. Because reasonable minds will look at this and say, you're signing this document at the point where you are in office. And if this is your principal residence in Norfolk, that creates a whole nother scenario. Man, that means that you are not eligible to be the AG of New York.
Exactly.
And then somewhere, Sam Antar, that's the guy that you just showed the video of, he is stating that, so your deputy witnessed you signing this, like it's deputy signature.
Yeah, she's the witness. The deputy AG is the witness on the signature.
Somebody Levy is the witness, and then because then you have to, I always ask David, when you get the video, who is this person? How credible are they? This individual who we just showed the video was Crazy Eddie, the Crazy Eddie's cousin. and he was for years was committing all these fraudulent crimes, and now he is the one educating and teaching the FBI and the IRS and all how to detect all of these fraud stuff.
I'm trying to tell you,
so he's been on both sides of the thing. So I kind of, when I'm listening to him, that kind of makes him an expert for me on the things that he's speaking about.
Take kind of out of it, okay? He knows.
He said, take kind of.
He knows how to commit paper crimes. He's certified in that. He has a certificate from the state called a conviction, and so he knows how to do white collar crime. And he has made it his business now to investigate and educate law enforcement officers on what white collar criminals do. And so, there's, like, again, I told you, I grade facts, not allegations.
Wait. Let me read this part to you. I spent 20 years committing financial fraud at Crazy Eddie, and then the next 30 years teaching others how to detect it. I trained fraud investigators at the FBI, the IRS, the DOJ, HUD, banking regulators, the New York State Controller's Office, a dozen of state and federal agencies. I lecture at Stanford University, Columbia University, NYU, and other top-tier academic institutions. I worked as an internal auditor for the Big Four firms, for law enforcement, for whistleblowers, and class action lawyers on complex fraud cases. I think that qualifies him because sometimes I do ask David, where do you get that video from? Who's that person? So we know. But I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, I really can't argue with this guy knows what he's talking about. And he went, and he also knows where to find the information and where to dig the stuff up. And
I want to know how he got the impetus to actually go and look for that specific.
Somebody told I told somebody.
What was the jump off? What made him call down there?
Somebody told.
Who told him that?
Somebody told. Somebody had to told, because how are you looking back 20 years?
So there's going to be a lot of public officials, and they're likely going to look like us, who are going to be looked at over the next 4 years by this administration. And the reason is because, they became the front line for the Democratic Party against this man. And instead of letting some of the other people do it, let you out there at the tip of the spear, and you're ready to get dealt with, Call me if you need me. I mean, get some good criminal defense tips.
Let me ask you a question. What does this do if the deputy AG is alleged to sign as a witness? What that does for the department itself?
Man, this is some for me, when I read this, and I just didn't read just the document, I read the exhibits, 20-page exhibit. I just think that nobody ever expected this environment that we're in to be what it is now. Okay, what I mean by that is people were low key, below the radar, doing all kinds of shady stuff. Buying property, signing your name to it so you can get the lower interest rate. And get the benefits on the insurance. It's not really that big of a deal. Ain't nobody gonna look because nobody cares. And then you go after Donald Trump, and you go after him based on the notion that he is committing all kinds of real estate transactions and frauds, and evaluations are wrong. So, of course, that's going to spawn up somebody inside his camp and say, hey, you know what? Well, shit, let's look at her and see what where she own property at. We look at the mortgage, and then that's where you kind of, you created yourself a target of this by doing this. And I feel bad for our people, because I'm going to tell you why. We're proud when we see our people in leadership roles doing the things that, prosecuting these crimes, at the highest level. But then we're, just like the same thing down there in Georgia and Atlanta, we become disappointed and embarrassed when, some of the stupidity that went on down there is may have gone on up there in New York. You gotta realize there's a reason why some of these folks wanted these particular administrations to go after these people, because they essentially made them sacrificial pawns in the game of their political chess. And so if you don't realize that when you take on these things, you set yourself up for failure. There was never probably the thought that that Democrats would be out of power and that a Republican administration would take over the FBI and the DOJ.
Well, I mean, what's being done is unprecedented. It's stuff that it breaks all norms. It breaks all everything. It's just unprecedented. Like you said, nobody thought that anybody, forget Democrat, Republican, white, black, would ever do the things that he's attempting to do. So,
well, he's pushing it. He's pushing it through the courts. Win, lose, lose. Yeah. But my thing is we don't see that from the Democrats when they get in power.
We were slow with it, Damon. In other words, the prosecutions were slow. The prosecutions should have taken place 2 years earlier, and he would have been dealt with, and it wouldn't have been trying to, sentence him in the middle of a political season. He'd have been sentenced and likely, not eligible, maybe even. I don't know, but we're slow. We like
they allowed him to kick the can. First, they were slow in the case, but then they allowed him to kick the can and continually kick the can down the road, stall the case, and that was his plan all along. And
I think some of the Democrats that were responsible for some of the investigations, I actually think that they were completely fine with that. I mean, you can't tell me that somebody says, "Hey," somebody didn't say, "Hey, I think we need to get this prosecution really rolling here," because it wasn't like any of the damn facts that were discovered were like lately discovered. In the New York case, that wasn't lately discovered. That stuff was there when he left office. An indictment should have
but they didn't. The feds didn't want. First of all, the Southern District, they didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
they tried to get Cy Vance, the DA before Bragg. He didn't want to do it.
Yeah, nobody.
Bragg came in and he did it, but you know what I'm saying. So it was people that was like, "Yo, I'm not doing that,"
and that should have been a cue for the brothers and sister. Okay, like if you ain't doing it, hey, you a white boy, I'm not doing it. Okay, so look here. If one of y'all want to do it, I'll stand up there next to you on the podium, but you got to rock with it. Okay, and there's a reason why, because they considered the cost. Particularly considering the timing.
Right.
They knew.
Right.
So played that out and say, man, it's going to be right on the eve of this. We might get the conviction, but we might not get him out of, blah, 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 blah. And so if it wasn't done, it should have just been left alone. And again, another calculation was made that was in error, I believe, that once he gets convicted, he damn straight ain't nobody going to elect a blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man, I don't know where these people. I want to be one of whoever needs a consultant. Call me. I'm going to tell you how regular people think. Okay, that's not how they think. He's convicted, and it looked like a political prosecution. That's how it looked to a lot of people, and because of the lateness of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and one of my mentors, Dr. Vallo, he always said the worst thing when you get prosecuted by the feds, because they have unlimited amount of money. But you saw Trump sell sneakers, sell Bibles. He was hustling to pay his lawyer fees because he had cases in New York, the case in Atlanta. He had like 4 or 5, huh?
Yeah, one in Florida too, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah. He had, and I think one in DC too. He was hustling. He had to pay all those lawyer fees. So,
the ones he did pay, because he wrote a bunch of lawyers.
One, he didn't pay him first, and then he got a new set. But at the end of the day, you still got to hustle, and that's the worst thing. And what Tish James is going to have to face is raising that money. Is literally raising that money.
Really feel
so
bad.
You know, regardless, I mean, there's not an indictment yet. There's just a letter of referral, but they're probably going to subpoena Sam Antar. You know, and they already got the paperwork. I mean, it's public, it's public records, and that's the most crazy thing about it. It was just there.
The thing to the way I would run through the analysis on this is, first off, is what she did a crime? Okay?
Right.
It appears to be, right? But under what statute is she being charged under, and is it a crime? It appears to be that when you sign and say, this is going to be my principal residence, and it's not really your principal residence, it appears to be a material misrepresentation on that document. Now, I have seen mortgage fraud cases based on material misrepresentations, right? And so that I'm not studied enough in that particular area to know if, in fact, that is a crime under the statute that she will be charged with. But that's it. The first thing is like, okay, man, this looks bad. It looks like then is what was the intent of you at the point when you signed this? You know?
Right.
So
and I also talked to a friend of mine. He said they're most likely. You saw that?
Yeah. Shout out to Terry Watson.
Yeah. What's up, Terry? But they're also going to try her in Virginia. And that's going to be a whole different thing.
It was filed in the court in Norfolk.
The jurisdiction will lie where that conduct allegedly was to have taken place, and so that's why it's going to be there.
Yeah. So and that also takes her out of the realm of the political influence of being in New York.
Yeah, there's not going to be many people that look like her and like her down in Virginia.
And there's not going to be many people really fond of her taking advantage of that neither.
And what you're talking about.
So and when I read stuff, it don't explain. So HAMP, HAMP, stands for the Home Affordable Modification Program, a U.S. government initiative designed to help struggling homeowners avoid foreclosure. It does this by monitoring their home loan to make them more affordable to the borrower, prevents foreclosure, blah 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 blah, and it modifies loans by reducing interest rates, fixing interest rates, providing principal forgiveness, or extending the loan term. So that's what it is. That's what the HAMP is that I was reading out. I wanted to read that for the people that don't know, because I actually had to look it up because I didn't know what HAMP was, and I read it.
Here's another question. Because these are federal loans, does that take it up another notch?
Yeah, because they're federal loans. That's essentially what creates the federal jurisdiction. You know, otherwise, if it was some kind of, these are federally backed loans.
Right.
And that's what I just read. Yeah.
And so that's what takes us up a notch. You know, it's as are most loans. You know, they have some kind of federal component, but the very fact that she's participating in that kind of program that AJ was just talking about, you know, it's going to be. These are some formidable facts. Okay, along my little grading, they're not favorable. They're because it's stamped on there. It's not flexible. These are formidable. So my job will be to muddy the waters. I'm not going to rate this all the way effed up, but this is definitely going to be a formidable case for them to navigate on the defense side, from what I see so far.
Wow.
And like I said, these are just allegations at this point.
Right. Yeah. No, because we
get accused of, you know, we saying she did it and we saying she's guilty and we are attacking her, and by some of our community.
I don't assume that she signed the document. There might have been an imposter down there. I don't assume that the document. Maybe there wasn't even a house down there. I want to find out all about this whole thing.
They found the house, bro.
House. I mean, you know,
they was out in the front like the James in here.
Yeah, you know, there's a bunch of questions that I can start running down as a defense attorney that would help me say, hey, this is what it's going to be our primary defense. I was under the influence of alcohol when I signed it. Nobody explained it to me. Maybe the attorney who was there who advised her said, "Listen, that line right there doesn't mean shit. I mean, just go ahead and sign it. We got the deal done. Let's get it done." But again, because you're the AG of New York, I would have said, can we remove that one line right there that says that I'm going to make this my primary principal home, in the document before I sign it? Those are going to be some formidable facts.
And two things. So, when you make a name, national reputation on going after someone as high profile as a Trump, you know what I'm saying? And then you get accused of similar things. That's one thing. Two, on the real, yes, 914 T sweatshirt. What's up, Jack Toon? We're gonna find that out, Jack. If they're still available. If, like I said earlier, I believe they were a limited edition. We're gonna find out if they're still available and where. But two, when you are the first, and this is what I want to, we celebrate first. She was the first Black woman, blah blah blah, in that position, and then you go. If this is true, and then you get convicted, you kind of hurt everybody who ever tries to come after you for that position. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a certain responsibility, and you're held to a higher standard. You wanted to be celebrated as that. You broke these barriers. You did all that. But if this is true, it hurts any other Black people trying to get that office, especially Black women. It really hurts that situation. And so I hope it's
I hope that each individual, each person that comes along down the line is judged on their own individual merit. We shouldn't
we know that's not the case.
We shouldn't have to carry the burden of what somebody else did. But there's that dynamic where that very well may happen. I just wish somebody would have advised caution. Like, hey, you know what? These other people said they didn't want to do this. I know people are telling you that you can secure the conviction, but the timing on this is going to be create the appearance as though this is political, and then let's play this all the way out to the end. If he gets in office, and I think that's the thing that they never thought was ever going to happen.
Because they didn't think it was possible. They thought there's no way. Just like the with Hillary, like there's no way. There was no way that she was going to lose that race. It was a foregone conclusion. There's no way.
It was a lock in.
No. People told. See the Democrats. People told them, and then Bernie folded. People told them that it was a problem to run Hillary, but it was. They just disrespected Bernie.
I gotta give it
and
to
then Bernie folded.
We stay stuck on stupid longer than anybody else because there's a lot of signs. There were a lot of signs, like you said. Bernie folded, and the people were behind Bernie. The energy was behind Bernie during that election cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And this cycle here, right? Once Biden made that one appearance at the
debate.
When I saw that, I was like, the question is not are we going to lose, but how bad we're going to lose. Because even if they change candidates at this point, whoever it is likely going to lose because they've got to put together a 6-month campaign, 5-month campaign at that point.
It wasn't even 6 months. It was like 99 days. Or it was something crazy. It was a couple of months. It wasn't.
We always sort of rig our own primaries in the Democratic Party. The one where Bernie Sanders was, I call that a rigged primary. Every poll out. This time around, it's always the same thing. It's we don't really get. For us being so much about representative democracy, we don't allow the process to really play out the way that it's done, the way it's supposed to be done. I'm still holding out hope, but I'll tell you one thing that I want to do the next time.
That's what I was going to say too. I'm cautiously optimistic. I really hope that it's not all true, but if it is, she's got a world of trouble.
Yeah, and I think, if so, and I know people are going to get upset, but she for the sanctity of justice in the seat, because what is going to happen if she holds it out, it really destroys the whole office.
Her predecessor stepped down just because of an accusation. He wasn't.
Exactly.
Nobody cares about that. What we're going to be saying at that point is this: well, Donald Trump just stepped down. Now
we don't even have to do Trump. Her predecessor stepped down.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a race to the bottom. We've allowed Trump. Donald Trump is a convicted felon, so why should I step down? So.
But see, yeah, it is a race to the bottom, because what I guess everybody forgot. When they go low, we go high, right? So we got to remain high. We forgot about that. They done threw that all. They done threw that all out the window. And as I tell people, vote Democrat. Why are you worried about what the Republicans do? You have to worry about your own credibility.
We should be setting our own standard.
Exactly.
And the standard should be objective based on our own positions. We've been adopting what those people have been doing and saying, well, they're doing this. Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me, we're in a really bad situation. I hope the next time around, every incumbent in the party is replaced.
Well, Jack Toon says she can keep the courts busy for years. I don't think in VA, brother.
Man, please.
I don't think in VA. Maybe in New York.
Not the Commonwealth. Not the Commonwealth of Virginia.
That's not the
Commonwealth. Yeah.
They don't have that kind of volume down there. The volume down there is less than it is in the state of New York. And watch and see what happens. That's going to be if the indictment happens. I suppose within the next 90 days, if those allegations are true and that referral is there, they're going to wrap up an investigation relatively quick, and we will see charges within the next 180 days. And then shortly after that, I would give that a 24-month cycle time period on the top side.
Right. And it's just gonna be a frenzy. It's gonna be another and look, it's gonna be another frenzy and another distraction, what the White House will do. It's going to be another distraction. Like, I don't understand why Democrats play into their hands all the time. This is going to be the next 4 years, because they don't have a plan. They don't have an agenda. They have no voice for the working class people.
Because, Damon, we've been elected professional politicians. And so professional politicians ain't really thinking about a strategic plan or real policies. They just thinking about, how can I exploit every situation to create some marketing for me so I can keep my name out there, so the unintelligent electorate will just remember that I'm the person who's in charge and doing the good things that they've seen be doing, even though it doesn't affect them individually. And to the brother Jack Toon, that's not going to be the DMV. Northern Virginia is Fairfax County and so forth. That's Norfolk. So that's not the DMV, brother. That's even south of Richmond.
And not only that, Black people don't go to jury duty.
Yeah,
we don't look at that as our civic duty to the community to turn up the jury duty. And we always cry injustice, but when you look at, we don't go to jury duty. That is a statistical fact. We do not show up for jury duty. And that's something that needs to change.
We show up in those areas and, like, I got something else I got to do. And if I have 4 Black folks, they self-destructed themselves to get out of there. So
now, as an attorney, when you do voir dire, when you're picking jury, do you have is that your experience? You have problems, getting qualified Black jury
jurisdictions. The primary jurisdiction I practice in is Prince George's County. So Prince George's County and Baltimore City, we're going to have largely African American jury pools. But when I go like St. Mary's County or rural areas, we're not going to really see the number of Blacks that are there in those populations. So, for instance, that Frisco County area, they have 8%. I want to say 8% Black folks there. And 50.
You mean where her house is at?
No, I'm talking about Carmela Anthony.
That's the Carmela Anthony case.
Yeah. It's not a lot of Blacks.
black folks get on the jury, and then watch this. It's going to be some of those step and fetch type black folks, like the guy with the cowboy hat, talking about, I had a knife. We got to have a conversation about this culture, and so it's going to be tough on them down there, man.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a rough one. I mean, I feel bad for the young kid. He made a bad decision. The situation was horrible for all the families, but we have to just let the process of justice and hope that there's transparency and accountability for all parties, but right now it's just become a circus, man. They have created it into a circus.
So Norfolk, Virginia, approximately 36.8% of the population identifies as Black or African American.
Okay. So they just got to show up. They just got to show up to jury duty.
Yeah, that's what the numbers are. But
so watch this. Inside that United States Eastern District of Virginia, Norfolk is the city, okay? And in Norfolk, there's gonna be plenty black folk, okay? But what happens is in the federal district, the jury pool is pulled from a larger area. It's going to be much broader than the city of Norfolk.
Absolutely.
It's
like Atlanta and Georgia. Like people say Atlanta, but once you go outside of Atlanta, it's like...
Well, hey, listen. Just because they some black folks, they might not be feeling her anyway.
Right.
Because if you're dealing with, these New York City people coming down here trying to take advantage of, it's like that. Black people are like that. You not from, you from White Plains. You ain't from Mount Vernon. What the fuck is that? So it's like that. Negroes is like that. Yeah. We don't show no unity. We show our tribalism and our ignorance that simple way. That simple way. So she could go down there. You can have an all-black jury, and they'll still find her guilty because they feel some New Yorkers coming down here trying to take advantage
of that situation down there.
Exactly.
Right? Why can't she buy a house up there somewhere in New York? There's all of that, and that's what the job of her criminal defense attorney will be, to try to identify people that will be favorable towards her. So, it's a whole science behind picking that jury.
Well, I mean, like we said, she hasn't been charged yet. We're just talking about the situation. We're just talking about the forensic investigation of the paperwork. But I still stick to my guns. Somebody knew, somebody told, because they knew where to look. They knew where to go, and somebody had to tell somebody in her circle, or somebody that was a friend that wasn't no more, or somebody that was a plant, or you never know.
You know what the kids call it? It's the ops.
Exactly. You never know, because how would he know to look at these certain things? Like somebody told, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. But I wish her luck.
Innocence. She does have a presumption of innocence. That might not even be a crime. That document may be a forgery. She may have been misled by whoever signed it. In fact, that might not be the same document that she signed. In other words, somebody could have a signature page, and on the front side of that, let me look at that document one more time.
She needs to hire you.
Look at that thing one more time. If it's a 2-page document, it is a.
So yeah, her mother is from Martinsville, Virginia, but she was born in New York, though. Martinsville is 247 miles away from Norfolk.
Oh, okay.
Look,
I'm looking up all this stuff.
On page 1 of 2, on one side of the document it says something, and then on page 2 is where the signature page is. And was that in fact page 1 at the time that she signed it?
Yeah, and what's funny about that? When we did our first recording contract, one of the attorney had us initial all the pages in the corner at the bottom, so that they couldn't, because what would happen is you would sign a document and then there'd be page 4 and 5.
So they couldn't transfer your signature onto another document,
or just add pages to
stuff to a document and then say this is what she represented. You know,
Right.
that could come.
because that supposedly that goes on a lot in the music business. But so I know my lawyer had us sign. He had us initial the bottom of every page.
That's right.
And then and if was any changes made, we had to initial that too and everything.
That's right. And it doesn't appear to be done in that page, in that document right there. So there could be a defense of somebody doctored that or put something in there that wasn't supposed to be in there. And then,
well, the truth is going to come out.
Yeah.
Negative or positive, the truth is going to come out. She definitely, because of history of being the first and because of the public attention she got for going after Trump as vigorously as she did, she makes her a high profile person, and there will be a lot of attention on this, good and bad. There will be eyes will be all over this. It will be watched, and the truth is going to come out. You know,
and just like down there in Texas, I'm praying for her to. I don't like to see anybody on the business end of a criminal prosecution. To be honest with you, I've been there myself, and it is a nerve-wracking endeavor. And so, you know, I'm hoping that this is not what it is purported to be.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Black Westchester Magazine is the news with the Black point of view.